This is talkSPORT Women's Football Show. I'm Lianne Sanderson. 8 games, Grant. We have to start. I've got my guest on the show today, Grant Engle from the Into the Channel Pod. One of my friends, one of the good guys, along with Dino. How you doing, Grant? I know you're in Seattle. It's like 6:45 in the morning, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Happy to do it, Leanne. I'm feeling fantastic. Always glad to join you on the Women's Football Show.
I really appreciate it. Like I said, we've got so much football to get through today. I'm speak to Uma Gurav and I will talk about the WSL games and the League Cup final. But I wanted to get you on to talk about the NWSL. Now we have to start with the Boston Legacy versus Gotham at the weekend. I was at that game. It's just broke the league record, 30,000 people. Soon Denver will get that record taken because they're going to get 50,000 at their home opening next week. But we want Boston to kind of get their flowers, get their rewards. But what did you make of the game overall?
I obviously unfortunate red card for Bianca St. George later in the match. I think a lot of NWSL fans who watched St. George play for Utah Royals saw St. George line up at center back and were like, whoa, this is different. And we're one game in, but it looked like a pretty rough experiment in that first match.
Yeah, do you know what though, Grant? I actually think like both expansion teams got a red card, which has like never happened in the opening game before.
Right.
But if you are on a yellow, I do think, when you it wasn't like a malicious tackle or anything. Like she plays on the
Sure.
edge and you wouldn't want it any other way because if you take that away from Bianca St. George, then I think you take her entire game away. But to be on a yellow and then do that, and Amanda Gutierrez just came into the game. Everybody was on their feet, so excited, was really surprised she didn't start in the game. Traore was their best player, Boston for sure. But I
Yeah.
actually thought before the game, Gotham were going to win this one like a blowout, genuinely. Like, I didn't say that on air because I didn't want to kind of be not, I didn't want to be like, oh, it's going to be 4-0 to Gotham, but we didn't know what to expect from Boston. But I thought I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think they held their shape pretty well. And I mean, you look at the talent on Gotham, Boston was still able to hold their own. I'm curious your opinion on this as a pro footballer yourself. Like in
X.
America, sure, sure. In American sports, when we see these expansion teams and they try to load up and they might get some veteran players and some young players, and there's so many times where you look at the roster and you're like, I know a lot of these names. They should be a good team, but isn't there something to when you throw everything together, not to act like it's hastily done, but when you put together everything in one off season, isn't there just some natural time that it has to take for a team to
Mhm.
really gel?
Yeah, definitely. I was part of an expansion team, but a very good one where we made the championship 2 years in a row, which is unheard of. But I've got to
Yeah.
give credit to the GM, Dome Guask from Boston because he's come from, Barcelona. He'd spent a lot of time there. They put together this roster with really 1.5 million, which is literally what one player is costing in the NWSL right now and in world
Wow.
football. So I've got to give them credit for that. I got to sit with him the other day and talk about how he put that roster together. There's a massive excitement about this team that I think, Philippa Patel coming from Benfica, she got some really good results with them. There was a 4-4 against Barcelona that people will
Oh yeah.
remember. Then they went up 1-0 in Barcelona at the mini study. But I wanted to also talk about Gotham as well, because they're a team last year that people spoke about their inconsistency, but I don't think it was their best performance. Juan Carlos Samaros kind of watched his huddle after the game, and I watched it on Instagram, and he alluded to that as well. But the most important thing, Grant, this first game is getting the 3 points, surely.
Definitely. And Gotham had a little bit of that feel last year where they were dealing with so many injuries. It was rare where you would see so many of their superstars on the pitch at one time. But then of course they put it all together. They get healthy at the right time. They end up winning the NWSL championship. I think for them, it almost feels like can they try to get totally healthy, get everybody ready mid-season and make a run at the Shield too? I mean, they certainly have the talent to do it.
Yeah, that's something that I think is their focus because, they finished eighth, won the championship, finished sixth. Then the year before that, went from worst to first, as people would like to say. But I think Gotham, I mean, adding Gura Wrighton to that team, Savannah
Oh yeah.
McCaskill, like what a dream team that is. Now, the next game, well, I know that you've had your eye on this game, Seattle, being a Seattle native. This was a really good result for Laura Harvey's Seattle Reign team. 2-1 against the Orlando Pride. Positives, Barbara Banda is back. She scored. I've
Yep.
missed watching her play. She's one of my favorite players to watch. What did you make of this one, Grant?
There were multiple times in this match where I get these moments sometimes. So Emily Mason, 23-year-old center back, filling in for budding superstar center back for Seattle Reign FC, Jordan Bugg, where Emily Mason was tasked with trying to run with Barbara Benda. And I know everybody's a professional out there. Hard not to feel bad for somebody who has to try to run with Benda. I thought she looked great. Her first match since August for Orlando Pride. But like you said, opening match of the season, Seattle Reign, as geographically in the United States, as far as you can go to Orlando, Florida, to get 3 points in that spot to kind of put it in the bank for the rest of the season feels like I don't want to overstate things in the first match. Feels like a massive result.
Yeah, it was massive. And obviously, another massive news story this week was Jordan Heitema going to the Chicago Stars. And then you've got me official starting in this game in the nine. I think, Jordan Heitema's been a really good servant to that club, often at times leading the line on her own. But Jess Fishlock, like, I mean, come on, we talk about Marta aging like fine wine, but like the fact that she scored was looking incredible. Like she seems to be aging backwards, don't she, Grant?
It's unbelievable to watch. I mean, she's far and away the most popular player in the club. She's an icon in the city of Seattle, and it's just the football IQ really never goes away. But she still is clearly so dedicated to keeping herself physically fit and physically strong that she's still able to produce. And in that goal that she scores, she gets way forward when, in so many cases now you see her kind of back distributing the ball, playing long passes over the top, but she can still do everything.
She can. And like I always say, I love Jess. I've never had the joy of playing with her, but I played against her so many times. And in the best way possible, she's probably one of the most annoying players because she doesn't let you breathe. She's always on you. She's just relentless. Her fitness levels are on a different level. So, next game I want to talk about, shout out to Jess Fishlock, massive fan of hers, as everybody knows. Angel City versus Chicago Stars, 4-0. Alex Strauss's first preseason with this team. Now, I always say about Angel City, I love going to LA, right? I love doing their games, but
Sure.
they've underwhelmed Grant in recent years. Like they've got nowhere near the levels. They're a massive franchise. Julie Ehrman has done a brilliant job at globally, building this team. But on the pitch, the product hasn't been anywhere near good enough. This first game under Alex Strauss in the NWSL, not his first game, but first start to the season for him
Right.
with this team, like blowout, fantastic result.
Chicago was under pressure, it felt like from the opening whistle. Giselle Thompson continues to come into her own for this team. She's getting more national team minutes as well. John's daughter it is just absolutely lethal in spots. There's a thing with Alex Strauss that stuck out to me from last season. It was later on in the season. I want to say, I think it was a 1-1 draw. I wish I should have taken the note on the precise match, but there was a match where it was another disappointing result for Angel City. And in the post-match huddle, it's funny you're talking about this with the Gotham match, that Alex Strauss was very clearly communicating the standard has to get better. And we did not play to my standard. And that just really
Mhm.
stuck out to me like, okay, this guy's really trying to flip this, and I believe he will.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the joy of speaking to him on a lot of coach calls, and I love the fact he talks a lot and he gives us a lot of information. He believes in himself. This is a guy that's come from Bayern Munich, managed one of
Right.
the best teams in Europe. So certainly he has that belief. So hopefully this will long may that continue. As for Chicago, like Anders Jakobsen was the interim coach. Now Martin Sjogren's come in there. Anders Jakobsen's become the assistant. And I like Anders. I've not had the chance of speaking to Martin yet. I've got their game next week against Kansas City, so I have a chance to speak to him. But
Right.
like I felt optimistic about what they were doing, but this will really sting them a little bit, won't it? First game, because remember last year against Orlando Pride, first game of the season, I'm pretty sure it was like 5-2.
Yeah, it was another gigantic
So it'll feel a
loss.
little bit triggering and all too familiar.
Yeah, I mean, Nair let in the first goal, kind of goes through her hands, uncharacteristic for the legend Alyssa Nair. They give up one on a set piece. There's an absolute howler at the end where Nair has a total miscommunication with the
Mm.
defense. Man, they looked kind of lost out there. Again, I try not to fall into the trap of first match, and there are 29 more matches to go, so a lot to happen. But yeah, you got to see, and you mentioned the Jordan Heidema move to Chicago. They announced that move on Thursday. She's their starting number 9 on Sunday. So they got to gel too and get some things done. But whew, that was an ugly start.
Yeah, it was massive shout out to Sabby King as well, returning to the field of play. Things you love to see. You know, you
Absolutely.
could just see how much it meant to her and her teammates. So massive shout out to her. I want to turn our attention to the Friday night game, the Portland Thorns against the Washington Spirit. Olivia Moultrie in the 52nd minute. What a player she has become. You know, this is a player that came into the league at 14 years old. She's had 6 years in the league, and last year I thought she was incredible. But like, I would say a lot of people are expecting Washington to win this one, especially with Trinity Rodman. What did you make of this one, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, but you can count me in that pool. I mean, what it feels like Portland Thorns manager has been there for what, 72 hours it felt like
Yeah,
before
Robert
before a
Villaham,
match.
friend of the
Yeah.
show, actually, former Tottenham manager.
Yeah, and for Wilhelm to kind of come in there so late in the season, I mean, obviously there's a rivalry between Seattle Reign Football Club fans and Portland Thorns FC fans, and people up here were kind of looking at each other, going, "What are they waiting for? Why is this taking so long?" But to get to your point, Washington Spirit, they're my pick to win the Shield. I think they get over the hump. They finished second on the table the last 2 seasons. I think they finally get it done. I wasn't really totally discouraged by this showing. And like you said, Moultrie got one. She's a budding superstar, if not already an absolute superstar in the league.
I mean, is it easy to allude to the fact that no Croy Bethune, no party? Do you know what I mean? Like she goes to Kansas City. I feel like her and Trinity play really good together. And then it just looked a little bit disjointed. I like Lacey Santos. I like Bernal. I like Hirschfeld. Bernal was a little bit deeper in this game. But like I was really shocked that they ended up losing Croy Bethune because keeping Trinity is obviously the most important thing as well. But I do think Croy was a massive loss to this team in that game on Friday night.
I think that's fair. I mean, when Bethune steps into the league, she sets or she ties the all-time record for a single season with its 10 assists. Um, they mentioned on the broadcast, our friend Mike Watts mentioned on the broadcast that I think it was Croy Bethune was like looking for a new opportunity, or that's what she
Okay.
told the club, which I'm really interested in. And so because I think you're right. I mean, she was clearly a good fit. Her vision, her movement in the middle of the pitch. But yeah, I don't know if she was looking for something more attacking, and maybe Spirit was looking to kind of shore up the
Mm.
defensive side. But it'll be interesting to see how Hal Hirschfeld kind of fits that mold, getting a little further up the pitch.
Yeah, well, as soon as we're talking about Croy, the next game I want to come on to Kansas City Current, the team that Croy Bethune has signed for, scores in her first game for them on her actual birthday. But Utah Royals went ahead in that game. Like they look decent, Utah.
100% agree. I think Utah Royals, I mean, they need to just not be a complete disaster before the break. I think again, I'll shout out our pal Mike Watts. He was on the Into the Channel podcast with me and Dino before the season, and he pointed out that Utah in the past 2 seasons, they have 3 total wins before each summer break the last 2 years. They've just been so bad. And then post break, they've been able to kind of turn things
Mhm.
around in each of those 2 years. So they got to find a way. But I thought they had a good showing against a strong Kansas City side in Kansas City, which is a hard place to play.
Yeah, I'm disappointed as well that Temwa Shawinga's still not back,
Yeah.
because she's everyone's pick for MVP. I like watching her play, but I think Kansas City seem like they'll always be okay, with the quality players that they do have in this team. Ali Sentnor, she's doing really well. Croy Bethune in addition as well. Losing Claire Hutton to Bay FC, massive loss, but obviously
Yeah.
you've got players like Lola Bonta. Next game I want to come on to the next team, Denver Summit. Now, we spoke about earlier two of the expansion teams getting a red card. Janine Sonis gets a red card 30 minutes into the game or so. Denver have to play 60 minutes or so without, you know, 11 players on the field. So I think it's hard to really judge. Bay went on to win the game 2-1, but like it's hard to judge, isn't it, Grant, where Denver are at in relation to like a Boston legacy, because I feel like they had to shift tactics based upon the red card. And Janine Sonis actually got an assist in that game as
Right.
well.
Yeah, I mean that really jumped out to me too, is that Sonis had a great run to get out wide into space, and then of course in very Janine Sonis style, she plays a great pass into the middle to create that goal, and then boom, she's off the field, and they're playing with 10 players. So yeah, I think it's hard to make big judgments, but can I say in those first 26 minutes when Sonis was on the field, I think I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, we know Nick Cushing quite well in England, and when he was at Manchester City, has a certain style of play, and I'm delighted that he's in the NWSL as well. I think their recruitment's been really good. They're about to break attendance records next week at their home open. They've sold 50,000 tickets, which is massive shout out to them. Jordan Angeli as well is kind of on the advisory board with them. So yeah, I think they're going to be okay, but I think the expansion teams pleasantly surprised me, Grant, in a good way, because as we know, this is like one of the first times we haven't had an expansion draft. We haven't had a college draft. So these teams have had to really dig deep into their recruitment. And I think they definitely have done that. Now, I just want to vocal some of these results as well. Houston win 1-0 in San Diego. Robbie going up against her former side against San Diego. Ludmila, I love Ludmila Grant, but like San Diego, I want to ask you about Jonas Siderveld actually, because they've lost Kaylin Sheridan, obviously in goal. Didi Haracic is in the back of the net. You've got, Ludmila up top. Kenza Dali, love Kenza. But like, this is a big first few games for Jonas Siderveld because after the break last year, they did not come back good. So I'm thinking like, questions will be asked if this continues.
I think that's totally fair. I think it's fair for those questions to be asked. And I'm curious your perspective on this too is it feels like, even when Idaval took over, there just seems like a lot of turnover. Like Cascarino comes in, Cascarino goes out, McCaskill goes out, Sheridan goes out. And like it I know, there are finances and there are a lot of things to kind of a lot of moving parts for any football club. But when you see like that kind of turnover in the span of
Mhm.
like 2, 3 years, it feels like that's either it's an organizational decision and maybe you could question where they're going with it, or it's not so much an organizational decision, and you're wondering what the heck's going on here.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a revolving door. But again, free agency now in the NWSL, players can choose where they want to go.
That's
They
true.
picked up Gabby Portillo from Gotham as well. But yeah, I do think this San Diego team last year at the beginning of the season, when Jonas first took over, they looked like they were going to win the Shield. And
True.
then it just kind of faltered by the wayside. But overall, Grant, what did you make of the opening weekend in the NWSL? Bit stop start, not the most beautiful football as we're used to, but what did you make of it?
I think we were always going to get that. It was funny watching the Thorns Spirit game, who played an incredible regular season match, kind of like in the midway point of the season. I think that was a 2-0 victory for the Thorns, and they looked absolutely incredible, and it was beautiful football. And then on Friday night, we were getting like 35 minutes into the first half. I was like, oh yeah, first match of the season. Always, everybody gets so excited.
Yeah.
I always get so excited. Then everybody's first match, you're like, okay, you got to work some stuff out. Maybe there's a little bit of nerves for some folks, but overall, incredibly promising. Over here we affectionately call it the Chaos League at times. I think we're gonna have no shortage of that this year.
Oh, amazing, Grant. I really appreciate you waking up nice and early in Seattle and joining me. I'll have to get you and Dino back on again soon. And I'm always tuning into your pod, into the channel pod, because it is fantastic to listen to. I love the fact you had Mike Watts on last week, obviously a friend of mine as well. So thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Always appreciate your kindness, Leanne. Thank you so much for helping out the show, and the feeling's mutual.